What is up, YouTube friends? I recently posted a video about posture, and I feel like every time I do that, my YouTube family, who mostly follows me for foot strengthening and barefoot training and that type of stuff, thinks it's just like wah wah from, the teacher in Peanuts or something. It's just like that you guys check out. And I want you to know that's not the right response, because your posture has a massive impact on your foot health, your foot strength, your foot function. Your feet have a lot at stake in terms of how much the rest of your body is pulling up against gravity. And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, since they are at the bottom of the totem. They take the heaviest brunt of postural collapse and dead weight from all the muscles upstream, right, from the ankles up, that aren't lifting against gravity the way they are designed to have the capacity to do. The foot is down there vulnerable. Vulnerable to what? To collapse, to overpronation, to a flattening foot. All of the symptoms we see. So if you have foot pain, ankle, you have a tendency towards ankle rolls, you have plantar fasciitis, flat-footedness that is sensitizing to you in terms of pain, all of the above really can be greatly assisted by working on your posture and the things that come with it, like a stronger back, stronger hips, stronger glutes, stronger pelvic floor, all the business. Posture and foot function is a full body and enterprise. Okay, so let me give you a quick visual. My head's going to be cut off, and this is extremely impromptu. I'm changing to go for a walk, and I'm like, let me just tell them this piece. I'm going to step back, and I'm going to show you what happens when I do a very basic iteration of postural collapse. And you're going to watch my feet. And we're going to talk about the spiraling down, and that's a literal spiral, to be honest, the spiraling down of my pelvic position as a result of my spine. This is my tailbone sitting in the beautiful butterfly shape of pelvic bowl, right? Or the ilium of my pelvis, my femoral heads that are affected by the shape and positioning of my pelvis, how that affects the rotation of my femurs, which affects the rotation of my knees, which affects the relationship of my tibia where it meets my talus, which is my ankle joint. And guess where we landed? My feet. So this is not an abstraction to connect these dots. This is a very literal chain of physical events that you can feel meaningfully and that your feet experience literally and directly with every footfall if you are not practicing pulling up on your posture. Okay, so this gesture is lifted posture. Overall, full body lifted posture. Okay, let's demonstrate. Okay, so I think you can still see my feet. I just want you to see my feet. All right. I can't see me, but I think you can. Okay, so here we go. Shake it out, shake it out. Level hips. That's in the frame. Let's put my short line to indicate the levelness of my hips. And you can see it's roughly level front to back. All right. Just have to mindfully slouch and collapse. You see a lot of this. You see a lot of hips forward, either locked out forward or tucking under forward, knees, in this sort of strained bend, falling, collapsing forward posture. We could talk about each juncture of what's going on at your back, at your pelvis, at your knees, at your soleus. Like, there's so many things going on in your body that are suffering when you don't meaningfully pull up against gravity. Okay, so this, again, we're leaving a lot of discussion on the table, and this is a very high, aerial view of this topic. But let me just put that disclaimer. So as I'm posturally collapsing, very, very classically, my glutes are dead. My femurs are rotating in. Knee valgus is probably a term you've heard. So some degree of femoral tendency inward. As I'm coming to that posterior tilt, I'm collapsing forward. There's this knee bend, slight flexion, internal rotation is associated. As my thigh bones internally rotate, they're going to pull my tibia with it. I have a whole video about knee cars, because your tibia and your femur do have a spiraling and sort of locking and interlocking, unlocking and locking relationship in the bending and straightening. But they also have this independence that they can have, that they can experience, right? So as my femur rolls in, I'm also going to get even more collapse on the tibia as it's getting no external rotation support from the bigger muscles upstream. It starts to spiral in, and you can especially see on my right foot where I have this actually quite prominently in my own anatomy, and asymmetries in my anatomy. You're going to get this arch collapse. The knock knees, and which is a product of the internal rotation from the hips, right, from the femurs, and the pelvic collapse that is a result of the spinal compression that is just going to, the body just gets compressed under gravity. It finds the path of least resistance towards the ground. I'm not putting up any resistance, that's what I'm going to get. Very few people roll to the outside, some do, but very few people. By comparison, most are going to get this internal spiral down. All right, so it feels pretty terrible, so I'm not going to force it any more dramatically than I am. But if you are someone that has plantar fasciitis, collapsing arches, pronating feet, all the above, you're going to feel a difference if you were rotating in and down, see the spiraling hips in and down, versus pulling them up into a more stronger, athletic, engaged, supinated or inverted strong foot because of an externally rotated hip and pelvis. And if it's in a standing position, it's under a pulled up spine, sitting in a neutral pelvis that is alleviating that downward compressive path of least resistance that's highly injurious to your feet, not to mention your entire system, right? Your spine isn't happy either. But I'm making this video for people who are thinking about their feet, because if that's the incentive it takes to get you to think about your spine, I'm perfectly happy with that. Talk to you soon. Please leave questions, and if you've asked me specific questions about things like plantar fasciitis, please know I'm not ignoring you. Thank you for having asked. I promise that is in queue, and I'm excited to make that video for you. Today is on point. Today's video is also on point.